Greetings, dear learners. Welcome to CEC Gurukul lectures. In the series of financial accounting, today we are going to begin a new topic, financial accounting principles. And in today's topic, we are going to cover about identifying the need of accounting principles, meaning of accounting principles, what are the types of accounting principles. Accounting, as you all know, is a language of business, and in every language there are certain rules of grammar. So in order to understand the accounting information and for maintaining uniformity in the preparation and presentation of general purpose financial statements, it is necessary that accounting should be based on certain principles. Why there is a need for accounting principles? Accounting principles are needed to maintain uniformity in accounting, to make accounting information more reliable as well as comparable. If we are not following accounting principles, because there are certain set of rules or guidelines to do something. So in accounting as well, accounting principles are there to follow the certain set of rules to do the accounting. If we are not following accounting principles, in that case they are not reliable, as this accounting information is furnished to the users of accounting, and if accounting principles are not followed, then we will not be in a position to compare these accounting financial statements. Accounting principles, the financial accounting principles are man-made and they are used as guide to action. They are the result of broad consensus and therefore known as generally accepted accounting principle and abbreviated with the word GAAP. The term generally accepted accounting principles GAAP is used to describe rules adopted for recording of transactions and preparation and presentation of financial statements at a particular time. We classify accounting principles into two parts, accounting concepts and accounting conventions. Accounting concepts are the basic assumptions or principles on the basis of which transactions are recorded and financial statements are prepared. The main objective is to maintain uniformity and consistency in the accounting records. There are 10 accounting concepts, and the first one is business entity concept, money measurement concept, going concern concept, accrual concept, accounting period concept, historical cost concept, realization concept, expenses recognition, dual concept and verifiable objective evidence concepts. So there are 10 accounting concepts and 4 accounting conventions. To begin with the first accounting concept, which is business entity concept. This concept is also known as a separate entity concept. This concept says an enterprise is treated as separate from its owners and other person who are associated with it. This concept says they are owner and business, they are two separate entities, and you have to record the transaction according to this concept. You have to record the transaction from the point of view of the accounting entity, not from the point of view of owner or those persons who are associated with it. Let's take an example here. If there is a transaction and the transaction is business started with cash and the cash amount is given in the transaction is rupees 10 lakh or whatever it is. So according to this transaction, cash is coming into the business. So what we are doing, we are analyzing this transaction from the point of view of the business, not from the point of view of the this owner. So this concept says owner is a separate entity and you have to record the transaction from the point of view of the business, not from the point of view of the owner. Because of this concept, whenever owner is investing, whenever owner is investing something into the business, that would be treated as a capital. And if he is withdrawing something from the business, if he is withdrawing cash or if he is withdrawing goods from the business, then that would be treated as drawings. So whenever there is a transaction from the owner side, that has to be recorded by the business, and that has to be analysis, that has to be recorded from the point of view of the business only, not from the point of view of the owner. The next concept is money measurement concept. As in my previous lecture, I have already explained you that in accounting we record only those transactions which can be expressed in terms of money only, and this concept says, according to this concept, only those transactions which can be measured in terms of money, such as sale of goods, purchase of asset, and income, there is a income, commission received, payment of rent. These are the transactions which can be measured in terms of money. Those transactions which cannot be measured in terms of money will not be recorded in accounting. For example, all those transactions are happening which cannot be expressed in monetary terms. Example, capability of HR manager, or creativity of its research department, or there is an appointment of manager, or image of the organization among the people in general, do not find a place in the accounting records of a firm. So this money measurement concept says only those transactions has to be recorded in the accounting which can be expressed in terms of money only, which has some value. The next concept is going concern concept, and this going concern concept says that business is for an indefinite period, and we are not going to liquidate this business in the foreseeable future. So business, we have opened this business for an indefinite period. We have not opened this business with the intention to liquidate it. And this one is the fundamental accounting assumption as per the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, and this concept, this going concern concept, is also known as continuity assumption. Because of this going concern concept, depreciation is charged on fixed asset. There are few more examples of this going concern concept, and these examples are, because of this going concern concept, assets are classified into two parts, current assets and fixed asset, as we are assuming that business is for indefinite period. If we are assuming that business is for indefinite period, that's why we are classifying assets into two categories. One is fixed assets which are held in the business for a longer period, and into the current assets which are held for 12 months. Liabilities are classified as short term and long term liabilities. Because of this concept, going concern concept, expenditures are classified as capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. I have already explained you in my previous lecture what is capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. Capital expenditures are non-recurring in nature, and revenue expenditures are recurring in nature. Capital expenditure, example of capital expenditure, asset purchase, and the example of revenue expenditure, payment of rent, payment of salary. Revenue expenditures are day-to-day working expenditures, and these are shown in the P&L account, whereas capital expenditures are non-recurring in nature. Example is purchase of asset, and these expenditures are shown in the balance sheet. And depreciation is charged on these capital expenditures. That is, if you are purchasing some asset, you have to charge depreciation on that. Because of the going concern concept, fixed assets are acquired for use, not for the purpose of sale. Cost of the depreciable asset is allocated over the useful life of the assets in a systematic manner. According to this concept, for example, if we have purchased an asset worth rupees 1 lakh, and we are assuming that business is for an indefinite period, and the life of this asset is say example 10 years. The cost of the asset is 1 lakh and life of the asset is 10 years. So what we are going to do, we are not going to charge the entire amount of this asset to any particular accounting period. What we are going to do, we are going to divide the entire cost of this asset and will be charging depreciation. Example, the cost of asset is rupees 1 lakh and the life of the asset is 10 years. So 1 lakh divided by 10,000 amount as a depreciation will be shown in the P&L account every year, instead of charging the entire amount of the asset in any particular year. So depreciation is charged because of this going concern concept. I have given you this example here. Now the next concept is accrual concept, and in the previous lectures we have done with basis of accounting, and there are two bases of accounting. One is cash basis and another is accrual basis. In accrual basis of accounting, all those transactions which are whether paid or not, whether received or not, will be recorded in that particular accounting year only. So similarly, accounting concept says revenues are credited to the period in which they are earned, whether they have been actually received or not, and expenses are charged to the period to which they relate, whether they have been actually paid or not. So according to the accrual concept, in spite of the fact whether you have paid some expense or not, if that particular expense is related to some particular accounting year, that has to be recorded in that particular accounting period only. Similarly, if there is an income, if that income belongs to that particular accounting period, but you have not received that income, even then you have to show that income in that particular accounting period only. I am giving an example here. Let's take one example here. The salary is given 20,000 per month, and the entire year salary would be 20,000 per month into 12. This comes to 2,40,000. So out of 2,40,000 salary, which is an expense for us, out of 2,40,000 we have paid a salary of rupees 2 lakh only, out of 2,40,000. So how much we have paid? We have paid only 2 lakh. So instead of the fact that we have paid only 2 lakh out of the total due was 2,40,000, but we have paid only 2 lakh. So in spite of the fact that we have paid only 2 lakh, we have to record the entire amount of salary which is due for the current year, and the entire amount of salary which is due for the current year is 2,40,000. So 2,40,000 will be shown in the current year, in spite of the fact that 40,000 is still outstanding. So because of this concept, outstanding expenses, prepaid expenses, outstanding expenses are expenses which are due but not paid. Prepaid expenses which are paid in advance. Example, there is a expense rent, and the per month rent is 10,000. The entire year rent comes to 10,000 into 12. This comes to 1,20,000. But you have paid 1,50,000. So 30,000 rent belongs to the next year. So this is a 30,000 is a prepaid expense. This 30,000 belongs to the next year, will be shown in the next year only. So current year total rent is 1,20,000. So we have to show only 1,20,000 in spite of the fact that you have paid 150. Accrued income received in advance are adjusted for ascertaining the profit or loss for the period. It is mandatory to keep accounts on accrual basis of accounting under Companies Act 2013. The next accounting concept is accounting period concept, and according to this principle, the economic life of an enterprise is artificially split into specific intervals which are known as accounting periods. Generally, these intervals are usually of a 12 months, that is 1 year, and at the end of which an income statement, that is P&L account, and position statement, that is balance sheet, are prepared to ascertain the financial performance of the business. This accounting period is also known as periodicity principle or time period principle. Because of this accounting period concept, profit and loss account is prepared usually for a year to know the results of the operations of the business, as various type of decisions are taken based on this. Preparation of financial statements on the yearly basis is necessary to settle the liabilities for income or corporate tax. The next type of concept is historical cost concept, and according to this concept, an asset is recorded at the price paid for it. That means whatever the amount is paid at the time of acquiring that particular asset is going to be recorded in the books of accounts. Example, if you have purchased an asset worth rupees 7 lakh and the present market value of that particular asset which you have purchased long time back is 10 lakh. So irrespective of the market value, which is rupees 10 lakh as of now, you are going to record this asset with rupees 7 lakh only. So historical cost concept says you have to record the asset at the price which you have paid for it. And because of this concept, all subsequent accounting, that is depreciation for the asset, is based upon this cost only. And what happens if nothing is paid to acquire an asset? If an asset is acquired and nothing is paid for it, then it is not recorded as an asset. Example, goodwill is recorded in the business only when it is purchased. That is when consideration in the form of money or money's worth is paid for it. Only then it is going to be recorded in the books of accounts, otherwise not. The next concept is realization or revenue recognition concept, and this concept says, according to this concept, revenue is said to have been realized when cash has been received, or right to receive cash on the sale of goods or services, or both has been created. I am giving you one example here of this realization concept. Let's take one example. PK Jeweller receive an order to supply gold ornament worth rupees 5 lakh. They supplied these ornaments worth rupees 2 lakh up to the year ending 31st December 2018, and the rest of the ornaments were supplied in January, that is in the next year. So in this example, what happened? They have received an order for rupees 5 lakh ornaments, but what they have done, they have delivered goods worth rupees 2 lakh. So just getting an order is not going to create a revenue. So what you have to see here, whether there is a delivery of goods. Yes, there was a delivery of goods, but not for the entire amount. They got the order for rupees 5 lakh, but they delivered the goods worth rupees 2 lakh. So only 2 lakh is the revenue for the year December 2018, up to the December 2018, and the rest of the goods were supplied in the next year. So rest of the revenue, that is rupees 3 lakh, will be shown in the next year only, or whenever you are supplying the goods only. Just getting an order is not considered as revenue until the goods have been delivered. The next concept is matching concept, and according to the matching concept, the expenses incurred in an accounting period should be matched with the revenue recognized in that period only. This concept is based on accrual concept, as it considers the occurrence of expenses and income and does not concern on actual inflow or outflow of cash. The example of this matching concept is, if goods costing rupees, I am telling you, goods costing rupees, the cost of the goods is 40,000, are sold for 50,000. This is the selling price. Goods costing rupees 40,000 are sold for 50,000. So and then when it is matched with those revenue, then rupees 40,000 cost of goods sold is matched with those revenue as an expense, resulting in rupees 10,000 as a gross profit from the sale only. The next concept is dual concept. Dual concept, twofold aspect of a transaction is called dual aspect or duality of a transaction. This duality is the basis of double entry records. Basically, this concept is based on the Newton's law, and Newton's law says whenever there is an action, there would be a reaction, and this concept is similar to that. So what does this concept say? This concept says whenever there is a debit, there would be a credit, and according to the double entry system, whenever you have to pass a transaction, you have two aspects, that is, one is debit and one is credit. As per this concept, the following two assumptions are identified: that every increase in one asset must have a corresponding decrease in other asset or increase in liability, that every decrease in asset must have a corresponding increase in other asset or decrease in liability. This concept you will be able to understand better when we will be doing some journal entries. This concept gives the following equation: equity, which is denoted with the letter E, plus liability, that is L, and this is equivalent to assets. The last concept is verifiable objectivity evidence concept, and according to this principle, there must be some objective evidence of transaction which are capable of verification. If you cannot verify a transaction, then we are not going to record that transaction into the books of accounts. For example, that you are saying that we have a purchased goods from that supplier. If you have purchased goods from X supplier, then definitely there would be some evidence, there would be some voucher, there would be some invoice of that. So whenever you are furnishing something, when you are saying that there is a transaction, so every transaction should be capable of verifications. These were the 10 accounting concepts. Now, accounting conventions. What do you mean by convention? The term convention is used to signify customs or tradition as a guide to the preparation of accounting statements. Accounting conventions are classified into 4 categories. The first one is full disclosure, second, materiality convention, third, consistency convention. This is also a fundamental accounting assumption, and the last one is conservatism or prudence convention. According to the first one, which is full disclosure convention, according to this convention, all significant financial information must be fully and fairly disclosed in the financial statement. What do you mean by significant? Significant information which can affect the decision of users of accounting. So all significant information which can affect the decision of the users of accounting has to be disclosed in the financial statement. According to this concept, the financial statement should act as a means of conveying, not as a means of concealing. Let's take an example here. If an enterprise has been depreciating its specific fixed asset on a straight line method, this is a method of charging depreciation for the last 5 years, and company wants to switch over this method of charging depreciation from SLM to WDV method. So company basically wants to change the method of depreciation. In that case, this fact and the effect of the change should be disclosed in the financial statements. The next one is materiality convention. According to the materiality principle, all relevant information which influence the decision of the users of the financial statement should be disclosed in the financial statements. Which information is more relevant than others is largely a matter of judgment. So basically, this materiality convention is exception to the full disclosure principle, whereas full disclosure principle says you have to disclose all the significant information, whereas materiality convention says you have to show only that much information which is a material information, which is a very important information which is not very important, there is no need to show into the books of accounts. So what information is important and what not, this is up to the accountant or organization. The next principle is consistency principle. The principle refers to the use of same accounting policies by a firm from a period to period. So whatever accounting policy, whatever accounting method you are adapting, you have to adapt the same accounting method from period to period. For example, there are many methods available for charging depreciation. Basically, two methods are available, that is straight line method and written down value method. So whatever method you are adapting in any particular accounting year, so you have to follow that method only, unless and until there is a urge to change that particular method. So to have a uniformity in account or to have a consistency in accounts, you have to follow the same accounting principles. The last one is convention of conservatism or prudence. As its name implies, conservative approach. You have to be very conservative while doing the accounting. What does it mean conservative? You have to anticipate no profit but provide for all losses should be applied here. So according to this principle, this is a policy of cautious approach in the uncertain environment. And the example of this conservatism principles are, because of this conservatism principle, we are making provision for doubtful debts, we are making provision for discount for debtors, we are not making any provision for discount on creditors, we are not anticipating our future income, we are anticipating our future losses. Because of this principle, stock is valued at lower of the cost or market value, whichever is lower. Because of this convention, amortization of intangible assets like goodwill, patent, trademark as early as possible are done. Thank you so much.